Welcome to Tennis Spin, where we put our spin on your tennis. Today, we're going to be talking about your skin. We're going to be talking about the tennis players getting burned all the time and how to take care of it. All right, guys. So I got special guest, friend of the show, friend of mine, Dr. Keith Denkler in the house. Dr. Denkler has been a longtime friend and customer of us. So I asked Dr. Denkler to join us today to, talk about how we as tennis players should take care of our skin. Dr. Denkler, welcome to Tennis Spin.
Thank you very much. I like the introduction, and I enjoy taking care of the skin and its contents. I am a plastic surgeon. I do teach at the University of California, San Francisco, where I'm a clinical professor, where I enjoy interacting with the medical students and student trainees in plastic surgery. I have a private practice in Larkspur where I share with my wife, Dr. Hudson. She does a lot of the skin care and lasers. And it's not about spin, it's about helping you have some sun sense. You want to be sensible about the sun. The sun is wonderful, it gives us life, and it's really great. But we have to add some common sense to our sun, the way we deal with the sun.
Let's dispel the first main myth. The meaning that melanoma and skin cancer can hit anyone at any age. Is that true?
Yes, melanoma is the bad skin cancer. It's really a cancerous mole more and not so much a cancerous skin. It's a mole is inside the skin. It's separate tissue, pigmented tissue. And when that gets sun damage, meaning ultraviolet light and sun damage, will change the DNA of the cells with free radicals. Those free radicals can hit the DNA, alter the DNA, and the DNA morphs and turns into a melanoma cancer, which can actually spread. And fortunately, melanomas nowadays have a high incidence and prevalence of melanomas, but they're usually early. We catch them early with skin checks or a changing mole, and they're taken off, so there's a high cure rate, essentially 100% or so if you catch it early. If you ignore it, the cancerous mole, the melanoma, can grow into the skin, get in the bloodstream, and show up later in the brain or the liver. Now, melanoma is highly associated with intermittent sun. So basically, when I would go to a vacation, perhaps in Florida or Hawaii, take off my bathing suit, I would get an intermittent sunburn. And melanoma comes more from intermittent sunburns, not from chronic exposure to the sun. So if one gets lots of chronic sun exposure, they get a red neck, and those tend to turn into red skin cancers, which are the basal cell and the squamous cell. Melanomas, unfortunately, can show up anywhere in the bodies. They can show up in the eyeball. It can show up in our intestines or mucosal tissues in the mouth. But those are really rare. But mostly melanomas. The thing to know about melanomas is melanoma is a leading cause of cancer death in women 20 to 30.
Oh, wow.
Now, that's a tender age to get cancer, and it's unusual. But those women that are getting intermittent sun exposure, and if you're moly, the more mollier you are, the more you're likely to get a melanoma cancer. But you just have to be sun aware. Don't get sunburns. I like the shirts that they have here. These are SPF shirts. A regular shirt gives maybe SPF 15, but you can buy clothing that goes much, much higher and gives you more sun protection to those sensitive areas. So I'm very much a fan of sun protective clothing, especially the current time of the year. It's around the solstice, so it's peak sun in the United States. In Australia, when you go for the Australian Open, it's near their solstice and the sun is over Australia more.
Let me backtrack to one quick thing. When you say moly, does that mean you have a lot of moles, and is that freckles too?
No, freckles are just little sun spots. Those are pigmented band-aids to protect from the sun. A mole is something you're born with, and then they develop in their youth. They come to the surface, and those can have hairs in them and things like that.
They're black spots. They look like black spots?
Yeah, they're black spots, and some people are predisposed. That's why the backs get it more, because the backs tend to have a lot of mole. And in women, the number one place for melanoma is the legs. In men, the number one place is the back. And in women, the number two place is in the back.
Watch out for your moles. And I think they do a lot of skin checking now by like your primary care physicians, I notice now, which they've never done in the past. They can notice and send you to a, what do they call it? A skin doctor.
A dermatologist.
Yeah.
Less so a plastic surgeon. Plastic surgeons and melanoma, we tend to come in later when it needs to be cut out and there's a big defect which needs to be sutured very nicely for cosmetic reasons. And then melanomas, you have to take a bigger margin of safety, so you're taking out more tissues.
Oh,
but
wow.
once you get around to melanoma, if it's all superficial, you can be fine. And there's wonderful immunotherapy at the medical centers to help people with melanoma, and that's a bad one. The more common one are the regular skin cancers like basal cell, and about 5 million Americans a year get basal cell cancers.
Okay, so you're a tennis player. Most tennis players spend an hour and a half to 2 hours every other day exposed to the sun. Is that a safe amount of time without any protection?
It can be, and sort of. It depends on the time of day, and it depends on the time of the year. I mean, June 21st is peak sun, and peak sun during the day is 10 to 4.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're playing early in the morning, you're getting less sun, but it comes from a lower angle. So if you're wearing, I like these hats that Harry has here, but these don't work as well for the morning sun. They're great in the wind because they don't blow off, but it works great for the peak sun. So for the morning sun, I tend to use the Foreign Legion kind of thing, because then that will protect my cheeks. So those are very useful for the morning sun. This is great for the afternoon sun. And don't forget, a lot of people they may play, women especially, they can use a visor. Doesn't protect you from getting sun, and you can get melanoma on the scalp. And for men, it wouldn't work because we go bald there later. But it doesn't protect your cheeks. So once the match is finished, if you can't play with a hat like this, I understand that. But when you're having your social lemonade or whatever afterwards, put a hat on here. Or if you're watching line 3 doubles, try to win the match, just have a protective hat in your bag. Brad Gilbert always said, have everything you need in the bag. So that's why I have adrenaline and atropine, because sometimes you have to save a life on the tennis court.
There you go.
Which I've done, yes.
Wow.
Jump started.
Let's talk about SPF numbers and what we really need to be at.
Well, sun protection factor is what keeps you from burning. Because if I put it on, it'll take me longer to burn. So it's essentially giving me more protection before the sun damages my skin and burns it. And SPF it's mostly for ultraviolet B, which causes burning. Ultraviolet A causes skin aging, so they're not necessarily that great for ultraviolet A. And we can still get some ultraviolet A through. So that's why I like the zinc sunscreens, because they are physical and they block, mostly all the UV, not just the B. SPF is good, but remember, in the time of the day, in peak summer, June, July, August, and even some in May, the sun is directly overhead North America. So peak time of the day, you can't just do it with sunscreens. You have to add hats and sunwear to protect your body, because you just can't do it. And I actually wear SPF pants, so I don't have to put all the chemicals or sunscreens on my leg, and then when I drive home, contaminate my car if I can't get a shower until I get home.
You mentioned zinc, and you like zinc.
Well, zinc is good because our body knows zinc. Zinc is an essential part of our body. It helps us with healing, and it helps with a lot of things. Obviously, too much zinc is not good. We don't want to absorb zinc because that can throw off our copper balance. But in general, these things are not absorbed into the skin. When you look at all the chemicals in something like this, you don't know what's necessarily absorbed because it hasn't necessarily been studied all the way. Some of these sort of sunscreens can go into the water and damage the coral reefs, and they've been outlined. But I like zinc and titanium. Those are both good. Titanium, our body doesn't really know and understand. So when we use micronized titanium, it's not necessarily as natural as zinc, which is our bodies deal with. And let me just say, there's something called nano titanium and nano sunscreens. Those were so small because they're not micro, not 1 to 1,000. It's nano. It's like one, even another extreme. That could be absorbed through the skin, and that there was concern by scientists that could be damaging us by getting through the skin. It's so small.
Now you have some diagrams here. Is this just for your reference?
This is the audience, and of course I'm a doctor, and the hand ironing is not that great. But this is sunlight. As you go, then if you go to red sunlight, the next step is infrared, and infrared is kind of warm, and reds are warmer colors. And when you go beyond reds, you go to micro, and when you go beyond reds to the highest, you go to radio waves or Wi-Fi and all of that. So those are low intensity. As you go from red to blue light we're finding out from computers and UV light can affect us also, and that's why when I do computer work, I wear blue light glasses to protect my eyeballs from the sun damage from the blue light. When I play tennis, I protect my eyes from the UV light because I don't want to get a cataract or macular degeneration, and also the sunglasses protecting me from a ball in the eye and creating eyeball damage. I know 3 men that have had eyeball damage from getting hit in the ball by a ball in an eyeball. So that's not good. We don't want to dislocate an eyeball lens or something. And I've had 1 ball hit my glasses, but just be safe. It's about safety. Have fun. Now, as you go from blue light, the next step is ultraviolet light, which goes to ultraviolet A, B, and C. C doesn't get filtered through our atmosphere, but as we're losing the ozone, more C is coming through. And the next thing after ultraviolet light is X-ray. So obviously, you have sunlight, you have UV, which is radiation, and the next stronger thing than UV light is X-rays, which we know are bad. So that's why medically you have to use it in low doses and things like that. So basically that's the spectrum of light. So that's why you just have to think about what is happening. So in the mornings and afternoon, this atmosphere of the rounded Earth filters the light, and more red goes through, but less ultraviolet. And so you're a little more protected.
So we talked about this pill before the show. Let's tell the watchers here what this is all about.
This is Heliocare, and this is a fern extract. And the reason this was important is that scientists were in the South American rainforest, and then noticed the Indians would chew in a fern to protect their skin from sun damage. So they said, what is that about? Well, we don't get as burn. So this pill is a supplement that when you take it, or you can take 1 or 2 pills before a big tennis match, where in the peak of the season, but it has antioxidants, I think 4 antioxidants in there. So when the sun is damaging your skin and oxidizing it, antioxidants are right in your bloodstream to take that free radical away, and before it can do damage to your DNA. You have to understand that babies come out, they have beautiful pure skin. As they get sun damage, they get some sun as they're adults, and then the sun damage turns into extreme sun damage. And I need to show you what extreme sun damage looks like. Now, this is not extreme sun damage. This is an older man in his 60s, it looks like, and he has some sun and he has some age. But his job, he was a milkman. So every morning he drove the same route from 7 in the morning till noon. And this is the side that got the sun.
Oh, the driving side.
The driving side, and obviously in South Africa and Australia, it's the other side because they drive on the opposite side of the road. But he got the left side. So the skin here is all the same age, but this skin here has the sun damage. So this is what sun damage does to your skin. It's not just, I'm getting wrinkles because I'm getting old. It's not the sun. This is his old skin. This is his old skin plus sun damage. And unfortunately, the treatments for cancers are basically surgery and cutting, which entails scarring. We don't want our faces and bodies scarred, so let's just use some SunSense to keep our skin looking good.
Yeah. One more quick product I saw right here. The lips.
Yes, lips don't tan, so you're not going to develop protection from the sun so much. It tends to burn out. No. This is an SPF sunscreen, which I prefer because the chemical sunscreens, if you put them in your lips, you're going to be licking that and those chemicals are going to go in. And I believe it's Neutrogena, their octobenzone had some benzene contaminants, so they had to take those sunscreens off the market because the octobenzones can sort of convert into benzene or is a byproduct of what they have. So you sort of have to watch these chemicals. Maybe the factory's a little bit off and you're getting minute doses. So it's just being sensible about it. The less product, if you can't read it or pronounce it, it's probably not
good for you.
Not good for you.
Yeah.
But I use a sunscreen here too because I can get you can get fever blisters, which can take weeks to go away. So you just have to use a nice SPF also to protect your lips from the sun damage, because you can get skin cancer of the upper lip, which is usually basal cells, and lower lips, the squamous cells. Squamous cells are a more advanced skin cancer than basal cells, and they can actually spread to the lymph nodes. So you want to catch those early also.
Got it. All right, so Doc, I understand people are people, and they're going to do the least possible to protect themselves. So what would be the minimum that people should do?
Well, I think even an SPF 15 will block, I think, 95% of the UVB. So that's good. You should reapply it some. Obviously, I don't like getting caked up with the really strong stuff, but if any sunscreen is good. And also just remember about the time of day and the time of year, and just be sensible about it. So hats can be good. Later in the day, I might skip the sunscreen, but not in the peak summertime.
Got it. Okay, so get some kind of sunscreen on yourself, put a hat on, get some protective clothing. Okay, I mean SPF 50 on these, right? And it keeps you cool at the same time, right? That's on the market now. They didn't used to be.
If you have this on, you don't have to put sunscreen on your arm, so it saves all that stuff. You need some sunscreen up here.
Okay, good point. That's great. You guys are actually thinking, right? Tennis players, you get burned all the time. I want to thank the doc here.
The spin doctor.
The spin doctor. Yeah, there you go. Dr. Keith Denkler, for hanging out with me today and showing us the way and taking care of ourselves, our skin, right? Very important, okay? Take care of your skin. Dr. Denkler, where can we find you?
My office, private practice, is in Larkspur, California, just around the corner from the shop.
We'll link the address and the phone number on the bottom. All right. Thank you, Dr. Denkler.
Okay.
All right. Guys, thank you for watching Tennis Spin, where we put our spin on your tennis.
Hey man, you can tell he been through some emotional damage. No man, you look like you went through hell and back. You need some AP tennis. That's what you need.
I have some emotional damage.